I am super excited today because I have Matt Knife Cooper with me, and Matt's got a resume that's only 32 pages long. In fact, I will tell you, Knife, you've got the longest resume of anybody we've ever had on the show, and they'll find out really quickly why. But I just want to go with call signs. It's an honor to be with you. How'd you get the call sign Knife, and what are you up to these days?
So I'm an adult and pediatric cardiac surgeon by training and experience. And after I went through my basic flying ratings, I had the opportunity to fly with a bunch of Air Force folks who were out of Nellis at the time. And so we did
Nice.
a lot of formation flying. We did a lot of aerobatic formation flying and some BFM and
Nice.
combat and aerobatic airplanes. And so along the way, they gave me the call sign Knife. We even had the Jeremiah Weed naming ceremony, the
Nice.
whole thing.
All right. So for everybody who's listening, there's a couple of acronyms in there that are pretty critical. So I can tell Knife by just those acronyms, you know what you're doing, right? So BFM, what does that stand for? You remember?
Basic fighter maneuvering.
Yeah, and it's kind of like dogfighting. Most people think about dogfighting, right? And that's awesome because not everybody gets to do that. So you did formation flying with Nellis guys. Now, for everybody, Nellis is where the Air Force Top Gun School is. They call it their fighter weapons school. It's where the best of the best go. Chuck Yeager did a lot of work out of there. So, what's your relationship with Nellis? How did that get established?
Well, it was interesting because I wasn't flying back in 97, and my wife and I went to the 50th anniversary of the Air Force. And I said to my wife, I
Ah,
need to go learn to fly or enlist. And she said, okay, you can
nice.
learn to fly. And I went pretty quickly through my ratings and figured I'd never been upside down. So I went and
Mm,
did some upset training in T-34s with Texas Air Aces
beautiful.
down in Houston, and got into the aerobatics and somehow got engaged with the community because a lot of military guys, as you know, have either general aviation aircraft or they're interested in
Sure.
the community, and hooked up with a bunch of folks who are just a great group who are willing to teach and just good to be with.
Wow. Okay. So in 97, the reason I know this is you were at the Kennedy School, right? And yeah, and I know that because I glanced through your resume and there's so many stuff, but I went, Kennedy School. And you got all kinds of degrees and stuff like that. But we almost were classmates because in 96, I was at the Naval War College and I was deciding where to go next. And I had gotten selected for this thing called the AEP Advanced Education Program. And just like you, I believe in growing and learning and continually. And one of them was I was going to go to the Kennedy School. Had my application in, and I was headed there. But under the it would have been what's it called? You got public policy, you got healthcare policy. What was your master's in?
Yeah, well, it wasn't a master's; it was a shorter course than that, but it was in health policy. Yeah,
Yeah, health policy.
and it was through the thoracic surgical societies that we're working with the Kennedy School to try to develop leadership in medical entities. So
Nice. Well, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to dive into the leadership, the use of debriefs and briefs, and all these things that you know from both an aviator standpoint and most importantly, from a surgeon healthcare standpoint. But just to wrap up the aviation piece, because you got me so excited on that. So formation flying, what were you guys flying, and what kind of formation work did you do?
so it was a mixed formation. Some of the
Oh,
folks were flying RVs, RV6s, and RV8s. I was flying an extra 300,
oh,
and
nice.
so I had lots of extra power to maneuver and things. And we were doing loops, rolls, and things like that. At that time, I was living in Las Vegas, so we were flying out of Boulder City. So we had great
Okay.
terrain. Every now and then we'd get a call on the radio that we should be heads up because the Thunderbirds were out practicing, and we'd just park ourselves and watch. So
Yeah, that's beautiful.